Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom, and this is a horror movie review, and I'll be having a look at Amityville Asylum. So before I get into the actual review of this film, you may know the Amityville series has been going on for quite some time, and there has been actually a lot of these sequels and spin-offs from the original Amityville horror, and I think some of them are sort of considered proper official sequels, whilst others, and I think probably I'll include this one in this, are more kind of almost unofficial spin-offs. So the story takes place when a young girl applies for a job at an asylum as a cleaner, and after quite an amusing interview, where she doesn't think she's got the job, she ends up finding she does actually have the job and starts to work there. And it's not long before she kind of starts seeing sort of weird things, apparitions and whatnot, and things that shouldn't be here, and eventually sort of stumbles across a possible conspiracy involving devil worship, and where some of the patients and even possibly some of the staff may be involved. Now, before I go into this, I will say this film has an extremely low budget. So with that in mind, I do have to make certain allowances in regards to some films. However, this film has a definite amateurish feel all the way through it. First thing, and the first sin of any horror film, this film simply isn't scary. It isn't really that spooky. So it kind of fell in as a horror film right at the get-go. It has some good ideas on it, which I'll come to again in just a little bit, but as a horror film, it fails in regards to doing its principal job. But there's also lots of other sort of technical issues. The music is absolutely terrible in this film. It's a really strange choice in sort of the score of this film. I don't know why they've chosen to sort of score it like this, because it simply doesn't fit the film. The camera work is awful. There's lots of really sort of close-up camera shots of just sort of very mundane things and sort of body parts, and the acting is very amateurish across the board. Now, on that subject, I will say this: it does sound like this is kind of maybe a first film for a lot of these people. So I have to kind of maybe give them a little bit of leeway, and obviously some of these like sort of young actors, and obviously everyone's got to start somewhere. But as you're watching as a sort of filmed piece of entertainment, sometimes the acting is pretty poor. Now, the interesting thing here, this is clearly a British film, yet it's pretending to be in America, which I actually didn't even realise until they started talking about how this hospital was built on Native American burial ground or something like that. And I thought, this is supposed to be in America? And then I kind of realised, actually, they're trying to put an American accent, and it was very, very poor attempt at American accents by some of the cast. Some of the cast don't even bother; they just speak in their native British or Welsh accent, or where it is they're from. I will say, in regards to the acting, there is one performance that I did like in this, and he's this kind of like Eastern European caretaker guy. I think he was probably the best thing about this film, and I'll come on to him a little bit in a minute. The sound effects of this film I want to point out as well. So there's a couple of instances where we hear and see someone firing a gun, and they use the same sound effect every single time, and it's a very fake sounding gunshot from a shotgun, and it just sounds like they've just used the same sample of a kind of like a a gunshot that they got off the internet and have used it. And also the police sirens as well, very, very unconvincing, and there's a bit of stock footage they use to sort of try and make it look like it's from America. On the positives, there's a funny scene in the beginning involving the interview, as I say. The best thing about this film is, again, I think it's Lee Bane, the actor, and he plays this kind of Eastern European sort of caretaker, and he's by far the most interesting character and the best actor in this film. And what I quite liked about him, they kind of almost played him against type. So he looks like when you first see him, he's going to be this sort of like kind of bastard, mean character. He's got all these sort of tattoos and stuff like that. It looks like he's a bit of a gangster, but it turns out he's actually quite a nice guy and genuinely helpful to the sort of the main girl, Lisa, who's kind of, I guess, the main protagonist in this film. And I like the way they played him and kind of almost put him against type. And they kind of maybe mention, his past a little bit, but they don't really dwell on it, which I thought was a good move. So I really liked his character, and I thought he was probably the best actor, if not the best thing in the whole film. You've also got a character played by Eileen Jane Lee, who, if you're a horror fan in the UK, you may know her from the sort of the redemption things that she's done and the sort of various sort of modelling. So she's a bit of a, not exactly a horror icon, but she's certainly sort of well known in the sort of the sort of circles of the sort of indie horror films in sort of the UK. And I'd also say there's probably an interesting epilogue on this film. I won't say what it is, obviously, because it's going to be a spoiler about what it refers to throughout the film. But to be honest with you, I'm really reaching to find a lot of positive points here, because unfortunately this film is disappointing. I do think it has some good ideas, and I guess the sort of premise is solid, if not particularly original. And like I said, it sounds like it's a kind of an early effort in the people behind the camera and in front of the camera sort of careers. So like I said, it's one of these things where everyone's got to start somewhere, I guess, and this, where the budget is so low, it does sort of show through, unfortunately. So maybe we'll see if these guys who maybe have improved as they sort of go on in their film making skills improve as the years roll on, I guess. But overall, as a piece of entertainment, I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 10, and that's mainly for the guy who plays the European caretakers. I thought he was pretty decent in it. So have you seen it? Let me know what your thoughts are and leave me a comment. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.